In this video, I'm going to speak about the advantages you'll have once you leave your home. I wish I knew all of this in my 20s, but anyway. Comfort is invisible until it's gone. When you're staying with your parents, you have everything: hot meals, clean clothes, someone to talk to. You realize when you start staying alone that all of these things are not as easily available. And what you do, you start struggling. And that's when you realize the true meaning of what family means, how easy they made life for you. Life is not meant to be as easy. And you realize that when you stay alone, when you put yourself through hard times, is when you realize what you were meant to become. Living with your family is a privilege. We need to understand the advantages we had. So when you start staying alone, you realize what they meant, how comfortable you felt. Also the fact that every time you felt like you had someone outside, you could just be in your room and do whatever the hell you wanted to and not worry about anything. But when you start staying alone, that's when you realize it's not just about paying the bills. It's about you personally going and paying the bill. It's about you remembering the dates, that this is when I have to pay a particular bill. This is when I have to do this. If I don't cook, how am I going to eat? If I don't iron my clothes, how am I going to go to office tomorrow? These are the things you start realizing when you stay alone, which sounds a bit difficult, but is really very important if you want to grow in life. Because when you put yourself through all these things is when you will actually grow. The second one is you have to parent yourself. Now that you're staying alone, no one's going to tell you what time do you have to sleep, what time do you have to wake up. Alarms become like a thing that you can't just keep snoozing. You have to wake up on time. You have to eat healthy. You should know what to eat, what to cook. Of course, your parents are always going to assist you and tell you what needs to be done. But at the end of the day, discipline is no more a choice. It's a must. You have to be disciplined in the decisions you make in life, especially when it comes to daily choices. No one's going to tell you when to stop binge watching, when to sleep on time. These are the things that you'll realize as you start staying alone. You're going to struggle for a month or two, but eventually, as I learn on my own, you'll start learning. And that's when you'll grow. And discipline won't just remain like thing that you want to do. You'll start enjoying it eventually because you'll start seeing growth. That's what it does to you. The third one is money disappears faster than it comes. Rent, groceries, just random charges, subscription. You'll start having to pay all of this. You'll start realizing that your money isn't enough because now you're having to do everything on your own. You're constantly cribbing about the fact that you're not making enough money, and you're going to push yourself now to take odd jobs. You're going to push yourself to create more side incomes. All of these things start happening when you now realize that kharche बढ़ रहे हैं लेकिन आमदनी इतनी ज़्यादा नहीं है. So what do? You start pushing yourself. Adult life bleeds money, and the faster you realize this, it's going to be better for you. The fourth one is loneliness is real, even in crowded places. You now start wanting genuine relationships with people. You don't just wish to be surrounded by people who are merely an acquaintance or just friends who you can't message or connect to when you wish to. All these are acquaintances. They come and go. You now want a true relationship, be it friendship, be it a romantic partner, be it family. You want to be around people who truly add meaning to your life, or else you'll just end up being lonely. So you're going to genuinely put an effort to not be lonely and try to connect to people who actually give you genuine happiness. The fifth point is you start understanding your parents. You realize they were doing their best. You have to understand that parents have also been at our age. Everyone makes mistakes. We constantly hold grudges towards our parents. They didn't do this. They could have done this better. I wish they didn't fight as much when I was staying with them. I wish they made more money. I wish my dad made more investments so that he could live a very luxurious life. When you start staying alone, you understand that these people are humans too. Everyone's flawed, as are you and I. But that doesn't mean they're bad humans. You get perspective when you start staying alone. You don't see your parents on a very regular basis, and that's when you understand their value. You start looking at them as humans. You stop criticizing them at every point. You start understanding them. You feel like connecting to them even more because now a lot of the things that they said start becoming true. A lot of the mistakes that they made are the ones that you start seeing in yourself. You start realizing you might end up making the same mistake. So now the only advantage you have is you learn from their mistakes, and in that process you start respecting them more. For example, Dad, you made this mistake. I realized from your mistake I'm not going to make the same mistake again. You made a bad investment. I realized that was a bad investment. I am going to make sure that I do not make that mistake again. It gives you perspective that parents didn't make mistakes, but they did their best. The sixth one is you can't run from yourself anymore. You start realizing the person you are. No one needs to tell you you're a good person or a bad person. You start understanding that from your habits, the way you treat people. You can't run away from yourself anymore. You look at yourself. You start appreciating yourself where you're wrong. You start living with your own company, and that's the most important but difficult thing to do because most men, most women don't really enjoy their own company. They really want to be surrounded by people all the time. And now that you're surrounded by yourself, if you don't really like yourself, if you don't like the person you become, you won't enjoy your company and you'll start hating yourself. So now work on yourself. Understand what you did wrong, learn from it, and start becoming a better person so that your life improves and the person you're with romantically involved in the future also benefits. And the seventh one is basic life skills matter more than degrees. Cooking, cleaning, communicating, the actual crux of life where you have to grow, because these are the things that are going to help you be alive. Like, you have to understand what needs to be done at what time. Degrees are not the only thing that are going to keep you alive. Yes, they're going to feed your stomach, but if you're staying alone, which in my opinion is really important, you start understanding that these small skills where you're cleaning or you're cooking or you're even communicating with people. Let's say you have a maid at home. Even communicating with her the right way is a life skill. You saw your mother doing it and you realize, oh, what does mom do? It's so easy. But when you start doing that on your own, you realize how difficult it was and how difficult it's always going to be. Communicating your ideas, thoughts to another human about anything is also a life skill. And these small things really help you be. The eighth one is friendships take work to maintain. Now that you've shifted, you've started staying alone. You and your friends don't anymore stay in the same locality. Now is the time to actually put an effort where you have to be on your game, where you have to be in touch with that person, not necessarily once every day. You'll have to connect to them if you really want to maintain that friendship. Your friendship is not just going to last because of the fact that that person stayed right opposite to your building and y'all could meet every day. It became more like a habit, even when there was no actual effort put in. Now that you're staying away is where your friendship is going to come out. Now when you're staying away, you'll realize, like, does this person actually mean something to you? You'll realize this with your own behavior, because you can't constantly start criticizing your friend and say, oh, he doesn't call me. How many times have you called? You call him thrice, and then if he doesn't call you once is when you start wondering if this person actually considers you. So true friendship starts mattering here, because I suggest you should be the first one to step in if you really consider someone to be close enough. I've had a few friends in my life, a lot of people who I used to be super connected earlier. I don't really see myself connecting to them anymore. That's the reason I don't call them. But there are a few genuine people who I deeply respect and love, and I'm always in touch with them. Not once a day, but I speak to them once a week, maybe even once a month. Friendship doesn't always have to be about communication, but about real effort. And real effort is very clear. You understand when a friend is being genuine, and honestly, start with you first being genuine. Because if you're genuine, then you can expect the other person to be genuine. The ninth one is silence can either be healing or it can destroy you. Sometimes silence helps, sometimes it destroys you. Earlier when I shifted, I couldn't live in silence. Today there are times when I just live in silence. I've shut off at times. That has started helping me now, but earlier it wouldn't help me because I would always need an activity around. Now you're stuck with your own thoughts. There's silence all the time. So what are you going to do now? Are you going to just end up being lonely, or are you going to accept it and do something about your life? The 10th one is growth is uncomfortable but addictive. Now growth is no more a choice. You want to grow because now you started staying alone. Your habits have already improved. Now when you see things improving, you want to be that best version of yourself. You see people start observing. It shouldn't just be about what people see and what not. You have to understand that you have to be the best version of yourself. And now that you started improving, you start realizing, I am a better talker. I am a better communicator. I look better. I feel better. My aura is different. When you embrace your own company, you'll start enjoying your own shadow. You start becoming the human you are. You improved in your life when you started staying alone. You see yourself being or getting better than others. People have started appreciating that. Some people appreciate, some of your own friends are not going to like that. But that shouldn't matter, because now you're on a very different game. You understand what truly matters. What kind of a person do you really want to be? Your initial struggle turned into confidence, and now you're embracing every challenge that you handled on your own has become a very different kind of strength, and you've started embracing it. So these are the things that I realized in the last 2.5 years when I started staying alone. The initial bit was a bit difficult, but I eventually worked through it. Now if you ask me, do I enjoy living alone? Yes, for the most part, yes. Do I miss my parents? Yes, at times. But I think staying alone has made me a very different person. I've become much more responsible, and I wish I'd known this earlier. I would have shifted much earlier, but better late than never. And if you're someone who's in your 20s and if you can actually afford it, my suggestion to you would be shift, start staying alone, be a bit uncomfortable. Do not always ask your parents, because Indian parents never want you to shift. They love you a bit too much. Not that other parents don't, but they would always want to. That's a culture, that's a community. But sometimes staying alone can help you grow, and it's really important that you grow in life and be a better version, because eventually your parents would understand. This is just my advice. I hope you like this video. If you do, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in another one.